G'day and welcome to Crispy Audio. The purpose of this video is to reduce some of the fear or anxiety that you might have about setting up your turntable cartridge for the first time. I know personally that this kind of video would have helped me immensely on my first run. I remember looking at the cartridge just thinking, wow, this thing is really fragile, and if I don't do it right, I'm going to break it and then I'm up for a new one. But I'm going to try and illustrate that that's just not the case. If you just take a little bit of care and you balance the cartridge correctly, then you really can't go wrong. You're going to get some sound, and then you can go and have a look at some more advanced setup videos and you can fine tune it. I have a lot of customers who are purchasing a turntable. They might have their eye on a specific cartridge and they ask me if I can set it up for them. And look, I love doing that, so I'm more than happy to. But I often say to them, look, your turntable will come with all of the tools required for the setup. And so if you're thinking about giving it a go, please do. Once you understand what each of these variables do and how they affect the sound, then if you've got any issues down the track, you can quickly resolve it. You know what changes are going to steer the sound in which direction. And I think that's an invaluable tool to have. So what I'm going to do, this is a super simple setup, and really this is not a cartridge setup video in the slightest. This is to show you how quickly you can get it on and how safely and quickly you can mount it and still get close to an optimum setup. This particular turntable is a VPI Player, and it's a complete turntable. So you get the table, the arm, the cartridge. The cartridge is an Ortofon 2M Red, which is actually factory installed at VPI. So I'm going to firstly play you some music in the state that it is out of the box. So that's the factory setup. Then I'm just going to take the cartridge off, put it back on very quickly, show you how to do that. And then we'll have another listen, and hopefully we're very close. And that should illustrate to you the fact that you're really, taking a short amount of time, you're going to be up and running. And then, like I say, go and have a look at some more advanced videos and then tweak it till you get it sounding how you like it. So let's have a listen. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove the cartridge. Now this Ortofon is attached by 2 Allen screws, and the Allen key, look, again, in most scenarios is going to be included with your turntable, I would hope. If not, often it's just a single key that does most things. So in this case it's the same Allen key that does these screws, that also does the counterweight at the back, which is the other piece of the puzzle. So that's off. I'm making sure that the stylus is not contacting the plinth, because then I've done some damage already. So this is how you would install your cartridge. Your wires are all color coded, so you really can't go wrong there. You've got red and white for one channel, for one for one side, and you've got the blue and the green for the other. So you connect, I like to connect the tone arm head shell leads first before I put my cartridge on. And the reason for that is that I can angle the cartridge down, and it gives me, it just makes it easier to push down and really get them on tightly, rather than trying to sort of get your arm and your wrist up in there once it's installed. So I put the head shell leads on first, then I screw the cartridge in. Now some cartridges don't have a thread, they use a nut on the underside, and that can be a bit more tricky. And my little tip for you there is to, if you can't get it because you think you need a third hand, try some blue tack just to hold the nut under there whilst you torque it up, and then you can pull it off later. So what I've done, what I've done, I'm going to change camera angles in a sec. Okay, so look, in this crude setup, we're lucky here in the fact that the head shell is squared off, and the cartridge is also squared off as well. So I've basically got two reference points that I can utilize. Now we can go all the way back, we can go all the way forward. Without the protractor, we don't know where that's going to be. And again, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to use the protractor, just to show you how rough this setup can be and still be safe in terms of getting you some sound. It is by no means optimal and is far from it. So I'm going to torque these up. These don't have to be super tight. There's not a lot of force that is applied to the head shell. So, you know, finger tight and maybe a 1/8 turn more, and that's about it. You don't want to be distorting the cartridge body at all. But what I've done here is trying to get the end of the head shell parallel to the end of the cartridge. Now the next piece of the puzzle, which is for me in this video is the last piece of the puzzle, is to get the VTF correct. And the VTF is the tracking force, or the weight that is pushing down on your cartridge to basically keep it in the groove, and if it's too light it's going to jump out, which is mistracking, and that's not what you want. And if it's too heavy, you're going to get some heavy wear on your stylus. You may be damaging your records as well, and again the sound is going to be suboptimal. So this one, as long as you're equipped with the right tools, which is a set of stylus scales, there's even some analog scales that you can get if you don't have any that are super cheap, but this will give you the weight that the stylus is pushing down on it. And you may not be able to read the display, but Ortofon is recommending 1.8 grams as a weight, as a VTF. So I'm going to try and undo this. There it is. Now what I like to do here is just to give it a little bit of a go while it's on the arm lift still, so the stylus is safe, it's not going to touch the platter. So you just feel how it feels. You move this back and it becomes lighter, so now it's balancing. So that's going to be too light, because that could give me about a 0 gram weight. So I want it to just come down slowly. And now this one torques up with a grub screw, and I'm gonna do it up each and every time, because if I don't, this could move while I'm trying to weigh it. And I also find sometimes when you do it up, it just seems to change the weight just a little bit, just enough. So now I'm just going to let that rest on the end of the scales, bring it down super slow. I like to have the scales in the middle of the record groove, because that gives me a nice average. And my reading is 0.64 grams. So I need more weight on here. So to put more weight on the head shell, I need to slide the counterweight towards the head shell. So I'm going to do that, loosen it. I'm going to bring it forward about 1 millimeter. It's going to really depend on your tone arm, but I find with the metal VPI arms, about 1 millimeter should buy you about 1 gram. So let's test that theory. Starting to get a reading 1.23, 1.24. All right, so we're getting there. So we're aiming for 1.8, so I'll bring it forward about the same amount. Now, when the manual says 1.8, for me, and in this level of cartridge and turntable, 1.8 is, that's a bit too heavy, that's 216. 1.8 is going to be somewhere around 175 to 185 is going to be a safe area for you. So don't stress if you're getting 1.79 and then you move it and you're getting 1.82. At this stage, and for the purpose of what we're doing here, 1.80. So I've just gotten lucky with that. But like I say, if you're 0.1, 0.2 off, that's something that you can fine tune yourself later, but for the sake of getting yourself playing, I wouldn't be worried about that. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully that's instilled a little more confidence for you to give this a try yourself. So please subscribe and stay tuned for more audio tips from Crispy Audio.